Okay, lesson 14, part 3, using, wow, 952 bytes of memory. This will be a continuation of lesson 14, the concept of using the MMU registers and the memory. So we're going to use a lot of memory in this example. Uh, Here's what we do, our normal 8 blocks of memory, which is this here, which you've seen a lot of times. That's our normal 64K that we use all the time. Then we're going to have four different images we're going to be bringing in, and I have them packed down into 4 blocks. So we'll be using 4 blocks for the packed images. Then when we get them in memory, we're going to unpack them. Each one will take 3 blocks, so that's 12 more blocks of memory we'll be using. We're going to have a display screen in one of the modes. It's going to take 3 blocks for the display. We have our normal H screen, uses 4 blocks for a total of 31 blocks, or 253,952 bytes of memory. We'll only be using task 0 in this one. Our program's pretty small. I think this has changed since I think I recompiled it since I put this slide together. But we'll be flipping all the different blocks in and out of task 0 registers as opposed to using the task 1. All right, we just showed that. This is our normal stuff we're going to do. Excuse me. When we were doing some of the manipulation of the screens, we're going to be using from 2000 to 7FFF for 3 blocks for a screen. And we're doing some copies from screen to screen. We'll be using from 8000 up through DFFF. And our program's going to be down here at E00. So this is just to tell you what we're going to be doing. Okay, we have a basic program called Explode Basic. It's going to load the 4 packed image files with offset. We talked about offset in one of the earlier lessons. And then we'll do a load in on a program called Expand Bin, which will explode them 4 pack files. We're going to expand them out to what they'll be visible. So we take what's in 00 blocks 0 to 3, which we loaded here, into blocks 24 through 2F. That means all of our image files are in core and have been expanded and ready for viewing. Then we'll load a program called Display All, and there'll be a menu which you can do, keyboard input 1, 2, 3, or 4, which will display either image 1, 2, 3, or 4. That's kind of simple. Then we're going to have an auto display, which is going to actually do some manipulation of all the screen blocks, which is really what this lesson is about. So we'll go to auto mode, and we'll get to show you what we're going to do that in a minute here. We have another option called random palette colors, so we can change the colors of the screen and set it back to normal or quit. Our display will be using blocks 21 through 23. So up here we're using 24 to 2F, and here, okay, before we do that, let's look at, here's our blocks, so you can maybe get a better understanding. Down here's our normal when you start the system up, basic, extended basic, disk basic goes down here in this normal area. That's our 64K. We're going to load the pack files into blocks 0, 1, 2, and 3. Our display screen will be on blocks 21 through 23. Our expanded files will be, file 1 will be here 24 to 26. Likewise, file 2, 3, and 4, which will end up in 2D to 2F. And H screen is in its normal position of 30 through 33. So that's the 31 blocks. We could do this with a lot less blocks, but the exercise is to show you how you can use a lot of memory for doing different things. Use your own brain cells to figure out how you could cut this down and use, but this is to show you how to use lots of memory. Okay, back to okay. Here's the images we're going to be using. I just picked 4 images off the internet. I think I found them out on Adobe somewhere, but I just grabbed 4 images that were uh, 2 colors, black and white, and had different visual effects on them, as you can see these do. Okay, here's the image files here, the sizes of them. You can see they're different sizes. File 1 is 3433 bytes. When you expand it out, it expands out to the full 6,000 hex bytes. Okay, file 2, file 3, file 4, which here's the total. There's the images. The images are all 2 colors. I picked that so it makes this lesson much easier. And here's the palette info. File 1 will be using a white background and blue colors. So it'll be using the palette registers 0 and 1. Likewise, file 2 is orange and black. File 3, white and red. And file 4, black to yellow. And the rest of the palette registers we're not using. We're going to be using these 8 registers, 0 through 7. Our display screen will be 256 by 192, 16 colors, 8 sections. What's a section? Okay, we're going to take the screen and we're going to divide it up into 24 lines, each one hex C00 bytes long. So we'll have 8 of these, 24 bytes long. I'll show you here in a little bit of what we're doing here. When we're in the auto mode or display mode, we're going to have, just to put a little pizzazz to it, when you display one of these sections, we can go from left to right, right to left, top to bottom, or bottom to top. Okay, so the options we're going to have in the auto mode is there's 4 images. We'll do a random 0 to 3. We have 8 sections, random 0 to 7. And the directions we have 0 to 3. Right, when all that's said and done, here's what that will look like. This is when in the auto mode. Okay, here's our sections. Okay, we got section 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is our images, pieces of them in each section as we go through randomizing this stuff here. Like this second one here, this blue one here, this is file 1. It's in section 2, and well, we don't know if it went right to left or top to bottom. But anyway, that's where we are. Okay, here we go. Let's do a demo, so maybe this will clear up some of what we're doing here. Okay, I already have the basic program loaded in, so I'll just run it. This is going to load in them 4 files, the packed files. There it is. There's file 1, file 2 loaded, file 3 loaded, and the big one, file 4 is loaded. All images are loaded, and there we did the expand on them, so all the blocks have been exploded out to the other memories. Oop. We'll load our display program in, and we'll execute it. Okay, so there's the menu. The menu actually was created in the basic program. We just left it sitting there at HScreen 2, and we pulled it up with this assembler program. So we got display files 1, 2, 3, or 4. So I'll do a 1. There's file 1, file 2, file 3, file 4. Simple enough. All right, now let's do the auto mode so I can show you what it's going to do. It's going to take them files and move them out, go in different directions, random, everything's random. Remember, there are 3 random options: section, file, and direction. And that's all because everything is in memory. So we're using all that memory now to move things around. So it's just a concept. So you use your own thoughts on how could you use something like this to move in different scenes, a partial part of a screen. Just say the bottom section was some water running. You could move that section in and out. I'm going to hit the A again and do the auto again so you can see what we're doing again. We're random doing this stuff is all it's what you see is what you get when it's random. And I can do, oops, once it gets through, I think it does 35 iterations on that there, and then it stops. Okay, now I'll do R for random palette. You can see which just change the first 7 palette registers randomly, so we get different colors, not necessarily anything nice looking, but just random. And we can do S to set it back to normal. Again, we can display 1, 2, 3, and 4. R do the auto. And we'll get done with this here. We'll do this here one more time. We'll take a look at, actually look at the code. So you have to use your own thoughts of what you could use this for, because this doesn't do, it does a lot, but it didn't do anything you probably could ever use. But it shows you how you can move stuff around from page screens to screen with these different pages. And I'll hit the Q, and that's it. So we'll go back to here. I'm going to view the code. Let me find the code. Okay, that was over here. Okay. Here's the basic program, which, again, I'm not much of a basic programmer, but that's what it is. It's going to put us in H screen 2, set the RGB, and set some basic color things up. And here's the menu for the assembler language program. I just did it here in H screen 2, puts it there, and we go to H screen 0, takes us back into text mode. Change some things around. Name of the file we're going to load, which block we want, and a message, and do a sub 360. It pokes it into the task 0 register, and which the block number that we're going to use, and we'll do a load in with offset as we did before. Print the screen that's loaded and return back. Do file 2, 3, and 4. Print all images loaded. Load them to expand bin program. Execute it and exit out of here. Now I'll show you the expand program, which I don't know why, because the images, we'll talk about the image later, okay? Because this is my version of an image program that's packed down. You'll have to do your own images and what you want to do, but this is mine. All this does is just sets up these blocks, and then comes down here and unpacks my routine. I packed them down. This here will unpack all 192 lines. That's all it's doing. So it's not, you would have to do your own, and I'll step through that later on how you can do it. The program we really want to look at is the display program. I guess I should show you this up here. I don't think I did this in before. Okay, I got some equates in here called no COCO and no Mac. Okay, what that means is, you know, we've been using this common include and macro include, and they print out a lot of stuff, pages and pages and pages of stuff on every program. So within them, I'll look at common here, and at the top of it, you can add this to yours, or you can copy out, put this out there in a zip file. It says if diff, okay, if defined, no COCO, then pragma no list. So what that means, if we define it somewhere in the program, from here on, do not list anything out. It will not list any of this stuff out in every program every time you compile it or look at it, all this stuff, until you get down to the end and you say pragma list again, then it will start listing. So in our program, we defined here no COCO. You can put anything there you want, just so it's no COCO, equate anything you want. It's just so it's defined. Same with no Mac, it just define it, and in our macro, we put that at the beginning. If defined no Mac, don't list this out in every program, stuff you don't want to see. So anyway, that's something else you can do in your programs. So we got them 2 includes in there, and we're not looking at any of that stuff. Okay, here's some of our important stuff. Our screen width is 256 pixels, columns, dots, whichever you want to call them. Okay, screen height is 192 pixels or lines. Screen sections, that was at 8 sections. We're splitting it up into. The beginning of the auto screen excuse me, is at address 2000. And this one here probably should have a better name, but called the beginning of the other screen, which is at 8,000, okay, because we're going to be using two sets of screens in memory at the same time. And I know that this could have a much better name, this offset, excuse me, but it's what this is really is the length of each section. So we take the screen width divided by 2 times the screen height divided by number of sections and cut it up, and it comes down and it says each section is hex C00 long, and we got a background color of black. So our program, we do our normal stuff, ignite the random and turn off the interrupts and move our stack. We have to move our stacks because we're going to be using that area and high speed, just normal stuff. All right, start out in H screen 2 mode to show the help screen. That was put out there by the basic program. So we do our normal setting the screen, which is a 1E. Store that in there and do, I don't know if we did this in the other ones or not, set graphics mode. Let's in case I didn't, I'll show you down here, set mode. It's way down here, set mode, okay? So we'll come in here and we'll use either text or graphics mode. And if you use this here, 1E will give you 320 by 192 H screen 2. So that 1E in there will do that. And all this routine is going to do is move this into the display registers. Okay. If you want to do a graphic, if you want to get back to text, you come to this one here, it'll put you back into text mode. Get back up here to the top. Oops. So we're going to H screen 2 mode, and we're going to just sit there and wait for any key from the keyboard. We'll get something as soon as it does. We'll store the palettes and reset the palettes to the new stuff that we're going to use. We're going to take 1A and we're going to store it down in that graphics thing we looked at in section modes. It will set us into 256, 192 by 16 colors. We'll move our display. We'll tell the MMU to use blocks 21, 22, and 23. We'll store that in there. Now that's what we'll be displaying there. We'll get our blocks 21 through 23. We'll tell it we want to put them in FFA1, blocks 21, and we'll set graphics memory. We have to go down here and look at that also. I don't know if we've done that before or not, but it's kind of okay. We're going to use map 3 consecutive pages, starting with the page in register A to the address in register X. And we put FFA2 in X, and we put hex 21 in A. So then we're going to do 3 blocks. We'll just do this here, increment 1, 2, 3. We've got our 3 blocks have been mapped into that lower memory. Okay, then we got mapped in lower memory, and we're going to branch to the clear screen. Clear screen's all it's going to do is clear them 3 pages we just moved. So now we got a clear screen. So everything has been moved in, and now we're going to into our main loop. Okay, now we're going to go get character. We're going to sit here and loop until you do something from the keyboard. You're going to do a Q, a 1, 2, 3, 4, AR, one of them options. Okay, so if you do a 1, it says branch equal to do file 1. Well, let's look at do file 1. Remember, all them images are in memory that we expanded. So all we have to do is tell the MMU, point it to that memory blocks to display it. So we know that memory block we did, if we looked at what we talked about earlier, if I can go over here, we said this file 1 was going to be in 24, 25, and 26. So we tell it do file 1, we tell it we're going to use 24, and they do that here. Just formula is take that times 2,000 divided by 8, store that in FF9D, and that tells the MMU to start the display at block 24. And it will display them next 3 pages because we told in our graphics set. We set it up here to be in 21 through 23. Down here, we're telling it to be in 24. So it knows, now it knows that. We go back to the main loop. Main loop, we sit there and wait till we do it. We can do a file 2, 3, and 4. They're the same things. It just gives different blocks to use. Next thing will be A, is it says do auto. That's where we're going to shuffle all this around. This is probably the important thing of this presentation. We're going to load X with FFA1 for the MMU registers. Block 21, we're going to set the graphics memory to that. That brings it down to memory, low memory. Clear that screen. Here's the display screen now. We're going to move the display back to block 21. And this here is the loop count. We're going to use 34. Loop through here 34 times. It's a good number. You can change it to for however many loops you want to see. Okay, here's our auto loop. And we got a note in here. You need to change the and B if the number of sections change. Okay, and that's talking about this instruction right here. And we're going to change that later on. Okay, you can do 4 sections, 8, 16, 32, or 64 sections. We'll change it later on and recompile a program and look at it. Anyway, we're at 8 now, so we're going to use this right here, which we have down here. So we do a get random. We're going to get a random number, and we only need 0 through 7. Okay, because that's the number of blocks we got. So we're just going to use that. There's that. I called it offset, and I should have called it something else. That's the length of one of the blocks. And we're going to jump to a routine that says it's going to multiply what's in register B by what's register Y and come back with an answer. So it's multiplying 8-bit by 16-bit and give us an answer. Well, let's take a look at it. A lot of stuff you could probably figure out yourself, but here we are. 8-bit by 16-bit unsigned bit integer multiplication, okay? And you can look at the code. It comes in with 8-bit in register B, 16 register Y, and when it returns to you, it will return to you a 24-bit product, which is B and Y together. So if you're doing something really big, B will have the first part and Y will contain the hash. But we're not going to be using that big a number, so our answer is always going to be in Y. So we come back with that answer, and what's that's giving us is it's pointing to the section of them 8 sections. We did a random up here, and if we did a random, let's say it comes back and it's 1 times the length of that section it will point us to section 1, okay? If it was 2, it'll point to section 2. So then we save that pointing to the correct section. We're going to save that for later use. Now we're going to get the beginning of the output screen. That's at our low screen, we're displaying on. I'm trying to remember all the things yes, that's our block 21. Now we're going to add what we just saved there. So we're going to jump down to the correct section of our output screen where we're going to store this stuff, and we'll save that for a while. And we'll get another random because we got 4 files, so we only need 0, 1, 2, or 3. So we only need 3. And we'll times that by 2. So we'll shift it over by 2. We'll load up something called a file table, which is right here. And this is an address of the routines, file 1, file 2, file 3, file 4. That's where you can find the routines for each one of those. Okay, and then we'll load the address A, which we just did here, X, and then we'll jump subroutine indirectly to whatever's in X. Okay, so if it was a file 1, we'd go to this routine, which is down here, and file 1 is going to load up, which this is where we have all of our images stored. So we'll load up, here's where we're going to put it in A4. Here's the beginning of that. Here's the current block, set memory block, and go back. So now we've got with the correct file in memory now. And we're going to get our input. Beginning of our input block, we're going to add, again, we're going to add that offset to get to the correct block. I know I'm confusing you, but that's the gist of this here. Once we get to this routines here, you can read them. Register Y will be pointing to the input. Register X is pointing to output. Register D is the length. Okay, that's what all that did. Okay, we just had to get them all in the correct spots in memory, calculate the length of it, and move the pointers. And then what we're going to do here is this is the actual move. We got them three things. Now we're going to get a random which direction we're going to go. We'll go left to right, right to left, up or down. We only need 3 of them, so we'll do a random, get that. Shift to left, we're going to get the routing table, which is here, which has a routine for down, up, right, or left. We're going to get all the things correct in memory what we need, and we're going to jump to that routine what was in U. So here's a down loop, and it's going to have the same stuff. So we're going to save D. We're going to put a little count in there, okay? And you can change that. I mean, I went a little bit of slow after each one because it just went so fast. So I put a little bit of a delay in there. Pull D back off, and so all we got here is the same thing we had before. And it will load U with 2 bytes from Y, store it in X, subtract D, and just keep going through this loop until it's moved the length, which was, remember, was hex C00. So it's moved from our good image to our display image. Okay, here's the up loop, same thing, other than we're decrementing here as opposed to increment. At the right and left loops are a little bit more. We got a little shuffle around, but you can look at them and debug them. And each one of these, when they're done, they go to loop exit, short delay. You can change that if you want. I just put it in there in case you wanted it. And we'll decrement that loop count of, remember it started out, it was at 34. If it's not equal to 0, we'll go back through the loop again and do that 34 times. And we want to restore everything before we go back, because we've used all, remember, we used all that memory, or the basic used it. Basic is in memory right now because we've used it for our images. So we're going to load X, load 39, move 3 blocks. That sets the lower part of this. And we do F4, 3C, set memory for that, and branch the main loop. What that did was that put us back in the way it is, like when you turn the machine on. That just goes back, and we go back to main loop. And we have to do that because, if you remember, main loop, the first thing it does, it goes over to basic to get a character. Well, if we didn't flip everything back, it would just go to Never Never Land. So we just go back to main loop and do one of these, either random, which is setting the random numbers for the palette, or resetting them. That's all that does. And the only other thing we had to do was exit, and that's just a normal exit that we've done in the past, which here is restore some stuff, set there for text mode, just restore our stack, restore our palette, and do all that, and go back to basics. I notice it's confusing, but it's is the concept, okay? The concept of how to go about getting this done. Don't know whoever use anything like this. I just want to get it in the as far as the lesson would be. Now let's discuss images. Images, not an easy task. Way back when, a year or so ago, it's in on my channel out there. You'll find it. Here's a link to it. I'll put that in the notes also. You can go back and review that, how to use COCO SC, which I didn't write, but it's how to use that to get your graphic images if you wanted a full screen image. So I used it, and it's very confusing, very troublesome to use. There's a lot of manual stuff in it. Well, as I got doing more and more images for experimenting with stuff and trying stuff, I found out what I had done was okay, but it was very hard to use. So I wrote a complete new version in C, but it's still a lot of manual work, even though I wrote it in C as best I could. But you have to use COCO SC and then use the FCBs that he generates, and you'll see in that screen, the upper right hand corner, and then use them FCBs and incorporate it into whatever program you want to use. And I incorporated it into my pack program. I could pack it using them FCBs. I could pack the image down. Uh, I may write a new version to replace this here. I have to go through it. It's this was me explaining this to you is confusing. Trying to explain the packing of them images is really tough. So you'll have to work on some imaging yourself because I don't know what you're going to do. I know if you're writing a basic program, you could use this. Or if you're writing a similar program, you probably won't even need any of these lessons if you're already advanced enough. You can draw a basic. You can draw with basic your images, and then write an assembler program to capture them. Okay, that can be done. You can just if you write a basic program, you do like H screen 2, and you draw this image, whatever it might be. When you go back to basic, the image stays out there. As long as you don't do anything else, you go back to text mode. If you load an assembly language program in, you can swap in blocks 30 through 33 and do a save M of them blocks. The difference is you're going to use blocks 30 to 33. All the code we were doing here used 3 blocks because it was a different screen mode as a 4 blocks. But anyway, you'd have to adjust everything you do to do something like that. The images is tough. You'll have to work with it. Maybe I'll update this. Maybe I won't. Don't know because it's very confusing to explain as this subject here was. I'm going to quit babbling here and get out of here, go take care of my cold. So I'll put this stuff out there. I'll put everything out there. I'll put the images and everything where you can run this and look at it. But you're going to get packed images, and I'm not going to tell you how I packed them because it's a C program that reads all them FCBs in and just does all kinds of gyrations to get it correct. Anyway, I forgot a few items, so look for a short follow-up of this lesson 3. Let's call it 3A or 4, one or the other. So I will add a little bit to this.